Welcome to the Sacred Womb podcast, womb-centered wisdom for the arc of womanhood, with me, your host, Melanie Swan. Hello, lovely women. How are you? How is your state of empowerment and emancipation and sovereignty? How is your womb? How is your lovely body? How is your relationship with money? So that's what we're going to be addressing today. Women and money. And why these collective and individual money blocks are so hard to budge. And how do we resolve them at the actual root so they're genuinely resolved and we genuinely see and experience changes in our daily life? Oh, big topic. Many women struggling with money in different ways. And I'm fed up with it. I'm fed up. We are sovereign. We are creators. We are everything. And we don't need to struggle. And there's all these different routes and there's all these different secondary gains to staying in the position that we are, not just with money, but with everything. And that's my work, really. I'm here to inform you what the root is, help you process it, and come back to your sovereign nature. So, women and money, blimey. Why are so many women struggling to earn, receive, retain, invest, buy their own homes? I know it's changing. It is changing. So I'm not talking about every individual, but collectively, we're struggling. We're in trouble, really. We have been for a long time. And when we haven't got our own money, it's really, it leaves us in a pickle, a very vulnerable position that can be, not always is, but can be taken advantage of and leave us just not able to do the things we want to do, either in the world or just to be safe. So why is this happening? Why do women struggle so much with money? So I'm just going to talk through some of the roots today and offer a pathway through. Because I'm here to change this, basically, if you want to. And I'll get to the secondary gains in a little bit. But women are conditioned both subtly and overtly to basically emotionally overgive, to feel guilty for charging for our time, to equate like compassion, not passion. It could be passion, but to equate compassion with low fee, and not to have too much, not to take more than is barely needed. So add to this attachment patterns that mean receiving can feel kind of existentially loaded. Generational trauma that women simply can't survive without a man and his money and his house. Plus a split from our own true masculine nature and all the distortions that comes with. And we've got a real heady concoction of lack and struggle, basically. But why? Why women in particular? Why is this still going on? Because to me, this feels like one of the most bizarre, controlling and controversial things on our planet. Why are we in this position? Where's it come from? So from my experience, the actual root of all roots, the real core thing is a perceived lack of ability within ourselves and a rupture of trust in ourselves, leading to a subsequent attempt to fill that void with someone or something outside of us. So when it comes to money and women, we usually fill our perceived lack of ability to earn with a man who can provide money, but also has his own deficit, and that's usually emotional intelligence and the ability to actually care for himself, which women then overfunction with and make up for in exchange. Or it can be an organization, or it can actually be anything, but they're the most common too. But it sets up our pattern. It sets up our relationship with the man, the partner, the organization, the whatever it is that we think has got what we don't have. So this produces a sort of an attachment tug of war. You give me this, I'll give you that. And without this, I'm not going to be able to survive. And that's what we call a trauma bond. We're bonded by perceived lack. I say perceived because we don't have the lack. We just perceive and experience the lack. But it is illusion. And so this perceived lack, this position of internal deficit, means we're basically prostituting. I mean that in the wider sense, but prostituting ourselves to those who have what we think we can't create within ourselves. So this points us back to a rupture in self-trust and separation from our true nature as creative, sovereign, capable, present beings. It's basically all our trauma that gets in the way of this, that needs resolving, and we need to restore our true sense of self. What I also see is the problem being projected out there. It's not the universe's fault. It's not the universe not giving. The nature of the universe, the core nature of the universe is love. That's the frequency we all operate on at the core, but we just forget. So what we do is take our attachment template and either project that onto a man, we project it onto an organization, as I've said, or we can project it onto the universe or our guides, our spirit guides as well. I've seen that too. The problem isn't outside. The problem isn't source. The problem isn't the universe. The problem isn't the partner. The problem is us. The problem is within. It's the unconscious patterns within. So it's a blend of attachment templates, like generational imprints, gendered socialization, and basically our own outsourcing versus resourcing, as in returning to the source within across our soul's journey. And all of that is running. It's muddy, it's foggy, it's patterns that glitch round again and again. So all of that runs how women charge, receive, retain, manage, invest, buy, relate to money. All of that affects us, and all can be unwound. I know it sounds like a big job, but it is possible because it's just stuff. And like any stuff, once we face it, once we address it, once we commit to taking self-responsibility, that in itself starts to dismantle it. And then we can process the roots, and then we've learned. And we can have a different relationship with ourselves and therefore money. But until we work at these levels, tweaks to pricing, positive affirmations, silent crossing fingers, hoping that something will shift after the Mercury comes out of retrograde, or just plain trying harder, doesn't create lasting change. It creates more illusion. It creates more deficit. It creates more of an experience that, I just can't, no matter what I do. It doesn't work. Can you hear the attachment pattern? No matter what I do, it doesn't work. Doesn't affect how much love that these people give me. It's usually parents, attachment figures. So I'm just going to talk through a few points a bit more that really keep us stuck. And the points that keep us stuck, as I've said, are not working at the root, not working with the nervous system. Because when we make intentions, when we say positive affirmations, we're trying to override basically our core beliefs, our nervous system patterns, our imprints. And that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen because that wouldn't have us learning the lessons that we're here to learn. It would have us skimming over. It would have us spiritually bypassing. So we don't want to do that. But often we don't know how to work at the root or what the root is. So that's the problem. Because when we set our intention or a positive affirmation, our nervous system and core beliefs override at the moment that we hit those blocks. And we've either got like feast and famine cycles, or not being scared to have too much, or money doesn't feel our responsibility, or young parts of us just being stuck in brain freeze, basically. We need to address all of those things. We need to address the root. The next one is just to realize all this gendered programming of women to be small, be nice, be grateful, don't charge for caring, don't take too much. Housewives, what the fuck is that? A housewife? That's a full-time job. If you're a woman at home with kids and you're, in quotes, not working, you are working. You are doing the most important job on the planet. You're bringing up the next generation of people that hopefully aren't as traumatized as you. So it is, being a mother is the most important job. Being a parent is. Being an actual human and treating others with respect and embodying love as much as we can, I think, is the most important thing that we can do here. The vehicle by which we do it doesn't matter. We don't need to be a therapist or a spiritual person or whatever, blah, blah, blah. All that rubbish. We can do whatever we want to use as the vehicle to grow. So gendered programming, back to that, yes. All that crap about being a woman and how we're supposed to be that we kind of take on and accept sometimes is fused with these attachment patterns. And the core of it is centered around just not having enough love, basically, in the right way, and just a longing to be cared for, a longing to be truly cared for. That is a secondary gain. By secondary gain, I mean, if by having a lack of money, let's say our partner is taking care of us with money, that is going to be scary if we don't know how to do it. So we're going to keep the deficit going. And we may be experiencing them providing money as care, and it might be done with care. But if it's attempting to fill that void, what happens is the void never gets filled, because it's like a leaky bucket. Because we've got the core beliefs in there that we can't do that. It's a trauma bond. If we're blaming the universe, that's a projection of our parents. When are they going to give it to me? When is the universe going to bring me this? Why isn't the universe bringing me that? It's all projection. So this fusion of gender programming with attachment patterns is all twisty and windy. And then we've got outsourcing versus resourcing. Now, this is the nature of humans, really, that we outsource, that we look outside of ourselves for what we think we cannot create from within ourselves. Resourcing is to return to the source within ourselves. So what I've seen is, and what I've experienced both with loads of women and working with loads of women and myself as well, is that we outsource across our soul's journey. And what we're actually trying to learn is to resource. The source is within. We are an expression of source. We are an expression of love, of God. And whether or not you want to use the word God or not, it doesn't matter. It's just that word can be pretty loaded, but we are part of the whole. We are an expression of the core love. We are an expression of love, but we separate from it. We forget. And that's okay. That's the nature of being human. And we're here to remember. And that's all. We're here to grow. And that's all. However we do it is okay. So when we work on our money patterns, we work on the very core of our being. It takes us into the core of our being, as well as working on the womb, as well as working on our relationship with food, as well as working with our attachment. It brings us home, or it can do. I know there's a perception, there's lots of pain. I know there is pain, but there's something within it. At the core of that pain is the truth. So what we seem to be learning as souls, as beings, is that when we reach outside of ourselves for something that is meant to be within us, shit happens, stuff goes wrong, we trauma bond, we keep that pattern alive. And that we need to return to ourselves on multiple levels seems to be what the work is. That is the work. And by the way, sometimes people take this as, oh, well, then we're not meant to be in relationship. We totally are. We totally are. I'm not saying we have everything within ourselves, and that means we should be able to live in a box and be totally self-sufficient. That's not it. We have the ability to create everything from within ourselves and bring that to our relationships and bring our love and bring our sovereignty and bring our presence. And we can use relationship as a vehicle to remember that. But if we're in relationship with people and things and the unseen that repeats all our patterns, which is what happens, then, and we continue to blame the outside thing or look at it as if, it's not giving us what we want in a way we want, how we want, and when we want, we're stuck in the pattern. We're stuck in the illusion, our own illusion. Okay. So this is what creates real change. It's like a direct, embodied process within us that looks at all our patterns, that looks at all our pain, that looks at restoring our sovereignty and self-responsibility. And that gives us a more congruent relationship with money that feels steady and safe, because we feel more steady and safe, because we are in a position where we're resourcing. Okay. So that is my piece. That is my bit about money. And I feel very passionate about this because I know we can undo it. I know we can unwind it. I know we can come home to ourselves. I know it. And I hope this podcast has helped you understand that money gets projections of everything else. And so it's just to be worked on like anything else. Okay, so I have created a couple of resources for you to get underneath this and understand what your beliefs are and move this. So one of them is free, which I feel is very important. It's a free guided practice and worksheet to locate your personal glitches and core beliefs in the cycle of money. I've put the link in the show notes. Just click the link and scroll down about 2/3 down the page, and you'll be able to put your email in and you'll get sent the files. And as well, if you are actually ready at the point where you're tearing your own hair out and you want to stop patching symptoms, blaming the universe, and want to just genuinely get to the root and change things, even though you might have parts that feel scared or like, oh, I don't know what's going to happen, or I don't know if I'm capable, that's okay. Bring it all. I've created a container where we can work through all of this together. When we do it together, when we heal, when we progress together, it's much quicker. I've called it Money Patterns Rewired, and it's specifically for women, and we're going to unwind and process and remember the truth. We're going to work at attachment levels, generational levels, soul levels, and gender programming. Let's get this sorted. There we go. I'm done. That feels really, really good to get out. I'm incorporating this in the book as well. Yes, I'm still writing the book. I don't know when it will be out, but I'm really working to condense and distill all the work I've been doing. So it will come out next year though. And I look forward to announcing that. But until then, I hope this has been useful for you. I hope the podcast in itself has given you some insight. If you take the free download, I hope that gives you more insight. And if you want to join us for the 3-month intensive, I'm really looking forward to meeting you and just unwinding this together. Okay.